Hello, my name's Caitlin Whiteley, and this is a presentation regarding cognitive load theory. Cognitive load theory defines the way information is processed using what's known as the cognitive architecture. Learners actively engage within a lesson, taking in anywhere from 3 to 7 pieces of working memory during that lesson. Any more than that, and the cognitive load will become overloaded. If the process does not become overwhelmed, if no more than 3 pieces of working memory is put into place, then it can pass into the long-term memory, effectively creating new schema for the learners, which is in effect creating new learning. Cognitive load theory is determined based upon the amount of working memory in the human brain during any time. It can only hold a certain amount. The architecture of the brain was first being seriously considered by the Germans in the 1800s. At that time, they were becoming curious about mental capacities. However, it wasn't until 1960 when working memory was defined. It was determined that the amount of short-term memory that could be held at any given point or time is only going to be 3 to 7 pieces. In 1988, the term cognitive load theory was coined by a man named John Sweller. He also helped determine the 3 different types of cognitive load that there are. In 1992, evidence had been shown for split attention, which was proven stating that information could be split on different parts of a page. However, if they are on different parts, they create more pieces of working memory, making it more difficult for more working memory to be put in. Finally, in 2003, evidence found that teaching simple basic concepts before the more complex ones leads to a better building of schema, a better learning opportunity for the learners. There are 3 types of cognitive load. Intrinsic load indicates the complexity level of the necessary information, which changes between novices and experts. The second type is extrinsic load. This is the unnecessary information, the visual effects, the audio, etc., that in effect distracts the learner. And finally, there is the Germain load, which is when new schema is being formed. The goal of the instructor is always to minimize the intrinsic load, to minimize the extrinsic load, and to maximize the Germain load. Because when there is a maximum use of the Germain load, there is a maximum amount of learning taking place. Why should instructors or designers consider cognitive load theory? They need to ensure that the student only has 3 to 7 pieces of working memory at any given point in time. Otherwise, if they have too much working memory, they will not be able to learn. It provides influence upon the schema. Again, if there is too much working memory, it cannot be processed into that long-term memory, creating a lack of learning. They can also know to watch out for split attention. They can minimize it. They make sure that any information that is targeted towards each other, that is collaborating with each other, that corresponds with each other, is within one part of the page together. They are not separated. Finally, there are multiple learning styles, and it has been proven that when audio and visual, audio and words are put together, there is a greater chance of learning to occur. Finally, to reduce cognitive load, instructors need to always ensure that they do not have a high intrinsic load. They do not have information that is separated from its correspondence. It is always together. Also, they make sure that they do not have a high extrinsic load, if any at all. Make sure to not have any of that extra information that will just distract from the learning. Finally, they need to make sure they never have a low Germain load, because if there is a low Germain load, that means no schema is being developed. If there is no schema, then there is no new knowledge. No new knowledge means no learning. Finally, this last slide provides the references that I used regarding the information in this presentation.